Well, if you weren't moved yet by the Indiana Fever's free agency, you should be now. DeWanna Bonner, 6-time All-Star, is headed to the Indiana Fever. Look, I had kind of mentioned on the Chicago Sky video from yesterday with the Rebecca Allen signing that you needed to go and look and see what smoke that we have been kind of getting the sense of in terms of free agency, because right here on NoCatSpace.wbb.com, in Andrew's article yesterday, we had mentioned that we at No Cat Space are also hearing some rumblings that there's real smoke behind that pursuit in regards to DeWanna Bonner to Indiana. This is why you got to be tapped in. This is why you got to be tapped in. But DeWanna Bonner is an Indiana Fever. Look, man. The Indiana Fever decided to go win now. And if that is the mindset, you're feeling pretty damn good right now. You are feeling pretty damn good. Obviously, the connection here with DeWanna Bonner and Stephanie White both spent last year in Connecticut. Fever fans were very familiar with that Connecticut team, obviously the playoff series and everything. And Bonner brings so much on both sides of the ball. Defensively, the ability to pretty much guard 1 through 5. Insane length. It's a 1-year deal. We'll see how long term this move becomes. But that's really the what everyone's signing up for in this free agency with the new CBA negotiations looming. But what she can bring on the defensive end feels massive, feels incredibly massive, and just gives. Here's the thing that I feel like Indiana has done a fantastic job of in this free agency is they've now added variables to what they can throw. It felt like the Indiana Fever kind of were what they were last year, and it worked a lot of the time. But what if it doesn't? Then what? And I feel like now they have added Natasha Howard. Now you've added DeWanna Bonner. Now you added Sophie Cunningham. You have depth to do the things that you like to do more often, and also different things that you can throw. Because Fever fans saw firsthand the difference in the adjustments that Stephanie White made on with guarding Caitlin Clark, whether it be Dejanay guarding her last year or even having DeWanna Bonner on her at times, and just the difficulty that DeWanna Bonner's length can cause for an offensive player. So, Fever fans know this honestly better than most about just how well DeWanna Bonner can be a variable changer for a WNBA team. You have it's a player that has done everything, has won championships, has been an all-star. Again, you should be feeling fantastic if you're the Indiana Fever right now. Again, you made the conscious decision. We are going to trade this number 8 pick, and we are going to go win now. And by making that conscious decision and deciding that is the timeline that you are willing to put yourself on, which I don't think is a bad move by any means, you now have gone and propelled yourself, especially in a league with just smaller amount of volume of teams, just frankly, in the WNBA. When you're on the cusp and building, it doesn't have to – a couple moves can really tip the scales. And obviously, we'll have to see because the New York Liberty are going to have something to say about that. The Minnesota Lynx, who are just pretty much keeping what they've had, are going to have something to say about that. Obviously, the Las Vegas Aces are going to have something to say about that. But when it comes to the way that the Indiana Fever have positioned themselves to be in that top-tier WNBA team conversation, they have done that this offseason. You turned Alyssa Smith into both Natasha Howard and DeWanna Bonner. Frankly, coming in, obviously Satu was a big name that people were looking at, myself included, for the Indiana Fever to go and get. But now I think you would have been pretty happy with one or the other of Natasha Howard and DeWanna Bonner. And now you go and get both. And Bonner on the offensive end provides so much spacing that you can play them next to each other. The idea of a Bonner, Howard, Boston, Mitchell, Clark starting lineup is not out of the realm. And so I'm very, very interested in knowing what the game plan is for Stephanie White in that sense. But again, you're bringing Lexi Hall off the bench in that case. You're bringing Sophie Cunningham off the bench in that case. And maybe that's not the look you want to go for. Maybe you want to start one of them instead. But regardless of it, you're feeling fantastic. You're feeling fantastic. You still have some second-round picks to go and add a little bit more depth. It might not be done. But this was what the big move felt like was next. After the Dallas trade, which sent Alyssa Smith to Dallas, you had the room to make this deal happen. And I was saying it on here, even with the smoke that we were hearing, it was like, until proven otherwise, I'm assuming that DeWanna Bonner is going to go be with Alyssa Thomas. That was just the assumption. But the fact that DeWanna Bonner is choosing to go to Indiana in this way is such a massive, massive deal to me, because you don't have the facility yet. It's on the way, but like it's not there yet. And like you kind of share some stuff with the Pacers, but like it's not a full facility in that way. But with what Caitlin and Aaliyah showed last season, you have now sped up the willingness of free agency in a way to go and be a part of what is happening in Indiana. And that is very special. That is a very, very special thing. And especially when, the Connecticut Sun just lost their entire starting lineup. And no, their facilities aren't as bad as Indiana's by any means, but Indiana's is as bad as Connecticut. I got that back. We can't make that clear because Connecticut's. You've heard me in these free agency videos how I feel about Connecticut's facilities, but the fact that Caitlin has come in and changed the game for Indiana in this way is just so incredibly impressive, and again has immediately raised their floor and their ceiling, and now players want to come and be a part of that, and now they're raising the floor and the ceiling of this Indiana team. Again, I couldn't be. If I'm a Fever fan, I couldn't be more ecstatic. I really, truly couldn't. Because again, this is what you hoped for. You had a hole at the 4. Like that felt pretty obvious. That felt glaring. That was the place for improvement. And you go and get 2 players that are capable of doing that. To me, like Alyssa Smith was it felt like she was on the way out regardless. And so in a way, not exactly, but in a way, you kind of trade the number 8 pick to then bring in your vets. Like you do that obviously directly with Sophie Cunningham, but I don't know for a fact or anything, but I imagine that moving to Alyssa Smith, a lot of that was being tied to the number 8 pick. So you're also kind of moving the number 8 pick with Alyssa Smith to then make room for DeWanna Bonner, to make room for Natasha Howard. And that's a masterclass. That is a masterclass. Again, Grace Berger is there to kind of be the backup point guard right now. I'll be interested in seeing if they make any other deals like that. But if you are an Indiana Fever fan, you're feeling good. You're feeling good. I might have predicted this a little bit with the magazines this whole time. I didn't realize it, but I might have been accidentally foreshadowing this. But again, credit to Stephanie White, obviously, for having this whatever connection is there with DeWanna Bonner. Amber Cox, the new GM of Indiana, has just been dealing since she's got there. And when they didn't protect Temi Fagbenle in the expansion draft with Golden State, everyone was like, okay, what's coming? And it was a little bit slower than initially anticipated, just in the sense of like when we kind of were finding things out. But this was the plan. They made it clear that there was some level of plan in place here. And this is it. The plan has been enacted. And the Indiana Fever are, again, I had already, my hot take earlier when we were talking about it on Ball Up Top a couple weeks ago, my hot take was conference championship. That's not a hot take anymore. My hot take is officially outdated. That is absolutely a possibility. A finals appearance is absolutely a possibility. Every hole that you needed plugged up in Indiana has been plugged. You have the guard spot with Sophie just giving you a different type of guard in that spot to play next to the offensive guards, and now your 4s with floor spacing. knocked it out of the park this free agency. Knocked it out of the park. And this is the balance as well where, again, like realistically, all these deals are going to be coming up in a year. And so this might not be the long-term team, but I still feel like you had a perfect balance of vet experience for the now and for this season, but also like if some of these players don't stick in the long term, like just based on the nature of what the CBA is going to bring, you're still in a solid place to me. You didn't give up anything super, super crazy. Again, the number 8 pick, I know people felt that was steep. I still feel like that is a good deal in the long term, especially now that we've seen the move since. The Indiana Fever are here in the now and are prepared to stay for the future within the WNBA and being in contention. Again, I mean, so many teams have lined up themselves now in this offseason to be contenders. So this WNBA season is going to be insane. I mean, you have there's a lot of kind of like wait and see on the court, like with maybe a team like Phoenix in that way. But I mean, there's 5-6 teams that have the talent to go and win a WNBA championship, and the Indiana Fever are one of them. And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that's not something you're saying. And the turnaround this franchise has done off the back of getting Aaliyah Boston and then getting Caitlin Clark. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. They're ready to invest. They're ready to win now. And DeWanna BONNER to the Indiana Fever is the exact move that indicates that. And the Indiana Fever made it. They made it. And I couldn't be more happy for the game and like fit wise. Like I was really banging the drum on Satu. DeWanna BONNER is that same type of player to me where I'm like, this just fits so perfectly. And like the basketball fan in me, I love it. I can't wait to see it. We'll have more thoughts on free agency as a whole. I'm sure on Ball Up Top, our weekly podcast that drops every Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that. Again, nocatspacewb.com. You don't want to miss out on any of our content, but also you never know what little nuggets might drop in an article. And if you missed it, you didn't know that DeWanna BONNER there was some smoke around it. So you don't want to miss out on anything like that again. So make sure you're subscribed on nocatspacewb.com. Make sure you're subscribed here on the YouTube. Hit the bell so you're notified whenever we go live. We had kind of surprise lives a lot during this free agency, but also we do post-game lives. We do weekend wrap lives. We do a whole bunch of stuff. So make sure you're subscribed here so you're not missing out on anything. It's a big, big, big month for No Cat Space here in February. So don't miss out on any of the announcements on the way either. DeWanna BONNER is an Indiana Fever, and the Indiana Fever are officially throwing their name in the hat to be title contenders in this upcoming WNBA season. It's going to be fun.